All right, folks, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the RecPoker Podcast. This is our weekly chats interview edition, but we also have a weekly forums edition that's all about strategy. I'm Jim Reid, your host for both. I go by Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on socials, and I have the best freaking job in the world talking poker with my friends every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern live on YouTube, where you can join us for free and win a prize just for showing up. Now, I'm excited for this one. We're going to be talking to Kevin Mathers. You know him as Kev Math in just a minute, but first, I'm proud to share we're brought to you by Running Aces. They are the official sponsor of the RecPoker Podcast. You can find out more about them at runaces.com. Most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we really depend on support from our sponsors and from our premium members who take part in our training material and study opportunities for only $22 a month. Now sign up for free at RecPoker. All it takes is an email address and a smile. We have a ton of fantastic free resources for everyone in the poker world. And you know we love supporting food banks around here, so if you want to check out the perks of our premium membership, just make a donation of any amount to your local food bank, send us the receipt, and we'll happily send you your first month of premium for free as a way of saying thanks for helping out your fellow humans. Whew. All right. Now, speaking of fellow humans, you get to know my voice because they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm only one man, and it takes a crew to make the magic happen around here. If you want to find out more about me or the rest of our leadership panel that we call the Wrecking Crew, just go to rec.poker/crew or listen up. You're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the air. It's not just me. It's Rob Washam, Chris Jones, Lorianne Persinger, John Somsky, and, of course, our invisible producer, Rob Gardner. And we're going to be joined by Kevin Mathers in just a second, but I want to just tell you, if you're in the YouTube audience right now, get your questions in there. We're going to be asking them of Kev Math live, so don't be shy. This is the man. If there's something to be known about the WSOP, he's probably the guy to ask. Of course, we're also going to be looking for suggestions to play Stake, Study, Stack with Kevin at the end of the show. And so feel free to throw some names out there as we go. And of course, stick around because we're going to do a food bank raffle at the end of the show with real prizes. And that is brought to you by Ramp Poker. All right, let's welcome him in, the one and only Kev Math. We want to put up the bat signal. And there he is, Kevin, Wrecking Crew member. Kevin Mathers, I want to say, like we got him, guys. He's totally.
You got me early. You got me like a couple years ago. Now.
Well, I knew you were a rising commodity, and we had to get our hooks into you before you became too famous and started big timing us.
That's right, overnight success, some would say.
Yeah, well, it's so fun, man. I love having you on the show and talking to you about poker. You are one of those people, like a lot of us here at RecPoker, they're just really enthusiastic and passionate and love the game and making the game better and helping other people explore the game. So you're truly, not just for me, but I think for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people's favorite person in the poker world. So it's a pleasure to pick your brain.
And thank you as always for letting me asking me to be on the show. And like I mentioned before the show, this will definitely be a much shorter episode of the podcast than it was the first time I was here this year.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be hard to beat. All right. Well, that's enough of the love fest. We're going to hold your feet to the fire. You're about to get grilled about all sorts of logistical details about the World Series of Poker. You're just the man for the job. So yeah, YouTube chatters, get your questions in there, and we'll make sure that we get into some of the nitty gritty about this kind of stuff. So Kevin, the first question I'm going to ask you is, a lot of people, especially if they're coming down for the first time, don't really know how to move the money around. These, if you're coming down to Vegas for the WSOP for the first time, you're shot taking, you're probably moving more dough than you're used to doing. So people can carry cash, but that has all sorts of pros and cons associated with it. They can wire money into the cage, but I think they have to have a minimum of like $100,000.
That is the case this year. It's $100,000 to minimum to send a wire.
All right. They can have like a cashier's check. Is that true, or only certain kinds of cashier's checks or something?
No, it just has to be drawn by. It has to be drawn by a bank. It has to have your name on it. And there's basically, if a lot of the information. I'll start off with this as a caveat. There are going to be questions that I'm not exactly 100% certain on, but if you go to WSOP.com/registration, you'll see a lot of the answers there. And eventually, now I've heard that there's a big rumor that there's going to be a revamp of the WSOP.com website during this week. It could be tomorrow, it could be Wednesday, it could be Friday, but there's probably going to be some there's probably some details that are missing on that at WSOP.com/2025 that will appear. That will hopefully answer a few of the questions that will be asked tonight, and also give some clarifying answers as well, which is definitely some stuff that's going on that's going to be helpful. And so, Leah, so to get to the question you actually asked, yes, you are correct. There actually are a couple of new methods this year that players can take advantage of. Like you said, you can cold hard cash will always be accepted at the WSOP main cage in Paris Ballroom. Just look for all the people that are heading to Paris, and look for that look for the convention center, and look for all the signs that'll be out there, and you'll see where to go to register. They take cash, they take horseshoe gaming chips, they take Paris gaming chips. They will take, like I said, the cashier's check. Certain information needs to be you have to contact. There's an email address that you have to send details of the cashier's check, which is, I'll give you that second here. I'll give you the email. It's CZZ, I should say, CZR credit at Caesars.com, CAESARS. That's for cashier's checks. And like I mentioned, wire transfers is a minimum of $100,000, which you're not able to do yet. There's basically, you have to send an email to Andy Rich. He's basically the head of poker operations for WSOP. And you have to send an email to him first at arich, R-I-C-H, at Caesars.com. And there will be a code that you'll have to, when you eventually send a wire, Andy will send you a code. And then when you send the wire, it's going to be in the information section of the wire, you include that code so that they know it's you. And then, there's ACH, which is basically your banking or checking account. And there are a couple of new methods this year. If you're outside the United States, a very popular service that people have used is Luxon Pay, LUXONPAY. And also PayPal is going to be a new addition for 2025 as well. And I'm sure many people were familiar with the service. And it is, I know there's been some controversy over the last week when I mentioned that people, there's certainly people that have had issues with using PayPal in the past where funds have been seized. But I should people be aware that, PayPal is definitely an improved method of deposit and withdrawal on several legal regulated sites in the United States, including World WSOP Online and the PokerStars, BetMGM, Party Poker Borgata, FanDuel, DraftKings, basically all the regulated sports books out in the United States. Now, as a point to note that you do have to you have to do in-person verification for the first time that you're using PayPal, Luxon Pay, ACH. Another method that I'm forgetting here is the Paris Tournament account. People in the past years when there was Bravo Poker Live was the service that people were using. They have what's called TBIC or Bravo TBIC, as the case was last year. And I know there's a lot of stuff, information to go through, but if you go to WSOP.com/registration, you see all this information detailed. So basically, the Paris Tournament account, it's basically where you can show up in person with cash, chips, cashier's check, and wire. It is a minimum of $2,500 to set up the account, and basically you deposit money, and then you will use the WSOP Plus app to basically make purchases and get all the get your C assignments, and there'll be all sorts of information on the WSOP Plus app, which I'm sure we'll be discussing over the course of this show.
Yes, that's great. We do have a few questions lined up around that as well. And I want to just point out that if people are paying in cash, there are no fees associated with that. But of course, you do have to carry a lot of cash around. What's worked for me in the past is getting a safety deposit box there at the cage, so that it's not free. It does have a cost associated with it, but it is nice to be able to leave cash there and not have to bring it to your hotel room or carrying it around on your person. And there is also, you can register for tournaments at the cage box, at the safety deposit box cage, which always has a much shorter line than the registration line. Kevin?
This is going to be one of those things where I assume it's mostly people are just going to do it through the app. I'm not 100% certain they're going to allow people use the cages for that purpose like they have in the past, but I don't. That's one of those I don't know for certain deals.
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely find out in the coming weeks and get a more definitive answer for people on that.
Now, Kevin, I was going to say, this is every year there's something's first year down there. This year it'll be the first year doing the app in this sort of thing. But you've been doing this for several years now, so a lot of the stuff that's not new to this year, we're gonna count on you for, and a lot of the other stuff we'll just have to figure out as we go. I think that makes sense.
I can let you know the details about safe deposit boxes because I have the soon to be published WSOP FAQ, which is always helpful.
Ooh.
So as you mentioned, Jim, there will be safe deposit boxes offered this year, and it's important to note that there's going to be, on top of the price of the boxes themselves, there's a $500 refundable deposit.
That's right.
Which is basically you're going to have to return. You'll get a key, and if you return that key, you'll get the $500 deposit back. If you lose the key or something happens, they have to drill your box. You're going to lose that $500 fee. And there are 3 different types of boxes. Unfortunately, you may know this better than me, Jim, about the size of the boxes themselves. But there's a small, medium, and large box. This year, the cost for a small and medium box is the same, $400. And for a large box, it's $500.
All right. So it has gone up a little. And the small boxes, the small and medium ones are usually taken first. If you get down there late, you're likely only able to use the large one.
Is that for the entire series?
Yeah, that covers the entire series. Basically, okay. I believe the office closes at noon on the 17th, if I remember correctly. But they'll definitely give a warning several times before the series ends that be sure to clean out your box of all your cash or chips or whatever's in there, so that they because if you don't, they'll drill it and then you'll lose that deposit.
So we've got some good questions from the YouTube audience, but first let's go to Chris Jones, who has some questions about the app itself, and we'll see what we can tease out of you and what we're going to have to kind of wait and see about. Chris Jones.
Yeah, and a number of the questions I think are coming in are kind of about the app, so maybe we can just kind of jump into the app. So this is the WSOP Plus app is it's not new this year. They did it in the Bahamas, right?
Correct.
But it's new to WSOP in Vegas, and it is required, as I understand that. Is that correct?
It's basically strongly encouraged. You have to have at least a WSOP Plus account, and I know especially early on, people, a lot of people are probably not. There's going to be a certain portion of the population that's not going to be following along what's going on with the WSOP. They're not going to be aware of the app itself. It's definitely strongly encouraged, but to register, you're going to need to have at least a WSOP Plus account, which is basically providing your email. It's definitely going to be helpful to have the app on your phone.
Mm-hmm. So as long as you have an account, if you just showed up and you've got a flip phone or whatever, you could still potentially register, but it's highly encouraged that you have the app.
Yes, it's just gonna make the process a little more complicated because again, it is the WSOP, because basically all the they'll be able to in situations they'll be able to print out a ticket, your C assignment, your table and seat. And this is one of those things where I'm not really 100% certain of, but I am assuming it's going to be based on a QR code. I'm assuming that was it. If anyone who's watching on YouTube or anywhere that played at WSP Paradise in the Bahamas the last 2 years can surely correct me on that. But I believe there was a QR code within the app itself that you scanned at the table, and that's how that's when you were able to take your seat.
Now, I had the pleasure of playing with Kim Kilroy in Dublin about last month for the Irish Poker Open, and I believe Kim also played at the Paradise event last year. So, Kim, I know you're in the YouTube chat. If the WSOP Plus app is a lot like the PokerStars Live app that we had to use in Dublin, maybe just type that in and give us a little feedback on that user experience, and that might help clarify some of the stuff. Chris, please.
Yeah, actually, I'll follow up since we just mentioned Kim. I'll follow up with her YouTube, which is about the app. She asks if you previously verified yourself on the WSOP Plus app in the Bahamas, for instance, will you need to be verified again in Vegas?
Okay, now this. I'll have to ask Kim this question because I'm sure she has the. I'm assuming she still has the app on her phone. So like when I access the app, because I haven't done the verification, I have on my screen. It's basically there's a player release. You have to link. So there's a player release that you sign using a stylus, your finger or whatever, for the 2025 WSOP. There's also you attach your Caesars Rewards card, which is basically putting your Caesars Rewards number and your last name. And then the third step is player verification, which is basically everyone who hadn't. That's going to be required. Everyone's going to have to do that. If you pay in cash, in chips or whatever, everyone's going to have to do that verification, which is basically showing your legit, and non-expired ID, passport, driver's license, ID card, etc. And that's going to be that's going to be required of everyone. Now, when Bravo, so people who have used Bravo Poker Live in the past would probably remember that if you used a credit card, your checking account, wire transfer, whatever, you had to get verified every single year. It doesn't matter if you've played the last 5 years when we've had this, the online registration, you still had to be verified each year in person. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming if Kim has the app on her phone, I'm going to assume it says verified. But again, this is one of those things where it's like I'm not 100% certain. But if you're not, you're going to have to get verified anyway, which is basically showing your ID. So it's not, if you're paying with cash, it's just you show your player's card, you show your ID, you're verified, you're good to go.
Cool. Well, I have two more questions. One more from YouTube about verification. Midwest 1811 asks, can we do in-person verification at any Caesars property ahead of time, or just Paris once the WSOP opens?
Okay, it's only going to be at the Paris main cage starting on May 15th at 9 a.m. That's the plan. They're going to accept registration for the WSOP on that date. It's basically going to be from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. I'm going to assume until the 25th or 26th of May. After that, they'll move everything over to the the WSOP main cage in the convention center, and basically the hours that the cage will be open is. Basically, it'll be open 9 a.m. on the 27th, and then every day it'll be open from 6:30 a.m. to 5 a.m. the next morning.
Great.
And now, I just to add, you can register with cash, chips. I've been told ACH, which is basically again checking, and PayPal. Credit cards cannot be done at the WSOP cage at the WSP, let me back up. Credit cards will not be accepted at the Paris main cage from the 15th. It's basically you can only do those from the 27th at 9 a.m. at the WSP main cage. This is when you can, do the verification of a credit card. You can, I believe on the 15th. Again, this is one of those things. Because if you have the app on your phone right now, you'll see that ACH and credit cards they're not letting people register with those methods yet. I've heard reports that starting the 15th that will be allowed, but again, you have to get verified anyway, so it's not yet. You have to get that verification first before you can get your C assignment and start playing.
Okay. Couple more questions then, because there's a couple more questions here. I'll ask this and then I want to ask about balances, but couple of questions here. I'll try to summarize these. H Poker asks, if every single person needs to verify, isn't that way more people than in past years? Isn't this going to create an initial really big bottleneck?
I could definitely see that being a possibility, especially but I think it's going to be, again, if you're going to the cage, if you're buying with cash, you have to show your ID anyway. So that if you don't care about the app at all, you're still going to have to show some sort of identification each time that you register for the tournament, because you have to show your ID and your player's card every time. Yeah, and there's definitely, I can definitely see there being some issues with lines starting on the 27th. But again, they are having registration at the Paris main cage, which will hopefully reduce some of the bottleneck. Fingers crossed. I'll just put it that way. But you could do this verification starting from 9 a.m. and basically it goes through the entire. So like if you're not playing 1A of the Mystery Millions, and you're playing, there's going to be time. You can have pretty much most of the entire day to get your verification taken care of and get your C assignments. But I can definitely see there being issues in the early days of WSOP.
Yeah.
About that process.
So give yourself some time, basically.
Yes, definitely. If you're going to be if you're a local in Vegas, it may be best just to take care of the, if you're going to pay and you're going to buy them with cash, have the app on your phone, go to the Paris main cage, get registered for all the events you want to play, and that would be great. But again, it's one of the things that's going to be required is definitely there's going to have to be some patience. Especially because there's event one's going to be such a big event, Mystery Millions. So it's, I can definitely see the first, with the first 5 days having flights of Mystery Millions, it could get interesting at times.
And then my last question is about the WSOP app and sort of like balances. So you come down to the WSOP and either you either create a tournament account or you use PayPal or Luxon Pay. What you're doing with that, as I understand it, you're purchasing tickets on the app, but you're not actually storing cash on the app, right? The app doesn't have like a balance on it. It just has your registrations. And then if you win something, you have to go to the cage and collect your winnings, and that it's never really living on the app. Is that true?
When you cash out, you'll have various methods. This is going to be one of those things where I'm not like 100% certain, but the standard is when you've in past years when you've gone to payouts to collect your winnings, you can request it as cash, chips. If you win a large enough sum, a check, have it wired back to your account. I'm going to, because again, PayPal is a verified. WSP is going to be a verified merchant with PayPal. So if you want to have money sent back to your PayPal account, that should be an option. Again, this is one of those things where it's not like I'm 100% certain on, but you'll have various methods of getting your payouts collected.
Okay, great.
And if there's changes, I will definitely try to let people know as much as possible via the app and on my Twitter account.
I did have a question. Thanks, Jim. It's going back to what you said for locals. In the past, as someone who doesn't play a lot of bracelet events, I'm more of the daily deep stacks kind of person in smaller events. I've always gone and pre-registered at the Paris cage just to get everything in. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that even though I do that, and I always pay in cash, I've never done anything but cash payments, so I don't mind standing in line. So I'll go like the night before or a couple of days before an actual event. But I want to be sure I'm understanding that I do still, in fact, need the app no matter what, even though I'm doing that. And what would be the purpose for the app for someone like myself?
Okay, well, for the purpose of the app, it's going to have, it'll have your C assignment. It'll have the tournament clock. You can post updates. If you have the app on your phone, you'll see a section that says stories. Mm-hmm. And it's basically just like giving it's basically like doing live tweeting on your progress in tournaments. Now, daily, as you mentioned, you play daily deep stacks more often than bracelet events, but they will still you will still need to have a WSOP Plus account no matter what. Mm-hmm. If you never play a bracelet, if you don't play bracelet events, you just want to play daily deep stacks, you're still going to need that WSOP Plus app. The account, and it's better if you have the app on your phone because then you'll have a C assignment. I know people that have used Bravo Poker Live in the past. Now, I mean that's probably not your situation, Lorianne, because you just paid cash. But there were definitely times when people would use that are familiar with the fast track kiosks. They would run out of paper. They wouldn't work. Then they would have to go to, the verification desk and have a physical ticket printed out, which is, because it's got everything, all the deep stacks are in the horseshoe. You have to go to Paris to get everything printed out. And that's a big hassle for that as well.
So when you mentioned about my ticket, my seat assignment, it will actually be on the app, which is
Yes.
another thing. If I'm going to pay in person, they would always print out a ticket, so that will no longer be done anymore. They're
Right.
not printing out tickets, physical tickets. Okay, that was the part
Yeah.
that kind of confused me. No physical seat
Yeah, I
assignment.
mean, if you don't have the app, if you decide not to use the app, my understanding is that they would print a physical ticket, but it's definitely better to have the app on your phone so that it's a QR code. You go to your assigned table, dealer scans your QR code, and then you're good to go.
Okay, because I'm one of these, because it's technology, which is always great, but like you said, what if one of these big ones, one of these people that think at some point, like I forget, one of the listeners said at some point there's going to be a bottleneck or something is going to go wrong. It's inevitable, which I hope people understand. It's technology. There's going to be glitches, especially in the bigger events. So like I said, I'm the one of these people, I think for that reason, I'd rather have my physical ticket in hand, but that's what I want to be sure. So no matter what, I still have to download the app. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, the more people that use the app itself, the better it will be, because again, it's sort of like, because I mean, they will take printed tickets, but again, I'm going again. I have to put the as I add to my Twitter profile, I have an assumption. This is my assumption hat, one of them. I have to wear in my head. So because there's a bit of assuming going on, I would assume, fingers crossed, that they'll produce a video or something on the when they update the website that will sort of show people how it goes, how it works. Because again, a big issue that's going to come up is a lot of people, it worked. I didn't really hear of any issues with the app at Paradise, but the fields are definitely not the same size as they'll be in Vegas.
Yes.
And I know people are saying, because there's going to be like loading issues, and having thousands of people on their phones, how's that going to affect your cell service, your Wi-Fi service, etc.
If it's at all like the PokerStars Live app in the Irish Poker Open, I will say, like, there are a lot of perks to having it. It can tell you what your current table draw, your current seat number and everything, even if you've been broken or you've moved tables a couple times. You can look up all the other players in the tournament by chip stack. The dealers at the end of every break include I don't know exactly how they'll run it down there, but there is a lot of great information. Also, Kevin, Martha Reed, my mom in the YouTube chat, wants to know if you can bang out a beautiful tune on that baby grand piano in the background, but we can hold that till the end of the show if we have time.
Yeah, maybe that'll be for the very end. I'll play something for everyone.
Love that idea. So we've got a question from Midwest 1811. So here's a scenario. Imagine that MSPT trophy winner Philip Razor is in a WSOP tournament at the Horseshoe and busts. Can he buy back in right from the app and go directly to his table and not even have to go back to Paris for any reason?
Correct. That is definitely a possibility. It's definitely, you could, if you have a Paris tournament account, you would have funds on your account, and if you have enough funds to enter to buy in back into the tournament, you'll certainly be able to do that. And you would get your C assignment and just you bust, do the walk of shame, and then you'll get everything's approved. You'll get your C assignment, then you would go to that table. Yes, that is it. You wouldn't have to go back in line if you didn't. If you have a Paris tournament account, if you have your credit card using the same credit card, PayPal, etc., those will all be available options for you to buy, to re-enter a tournament if you still have, if there's still late registration open. And, because some tournaments have freeze out, some have one re-entry, some have two re-entries, some have a limited re-entry. As long as you haven't exceeded the number of re-entries in the event, you'll be able to enter again using the app.
Yeah, and I was able to
go to the cage.
And I was able to use Luxon, for instance, when I was in Dublin. It was very simple to you basically log into your payment. It's Luxon, select the tournament that you want to buy into, and just buy it right there through the app. So that was very convenient. We got a question from Joseph Kelly. He's saying he's not clear. Is the app required or recommended? Joseph, the app is recommended, but what's required is a membership account at the WSOP Plus account. So you have to sign up for that so that they know who you are and they can verify your email and take a photo for the dealers to know who you are and that kind of stuff. But you don't have to have the app in order to participate. It's just a much smoother question. a much
Correct.
smoother operation if you do.
Yeah, and I can definitely see a population of over a certain age is going to be less likely to, one, have a phone, or two, have the app on their phone. And
Yes.
we can guess the ages of those people.
Yeah. All right. I want to I see some new names in the YouTube chat. Thanks for checking out the show. Get your questions in for Kevin, and stick around. We're going to do our raffle, our food drive raffle at the end of the show, where you can win some real prizes just for hanging out. And we've got a couple more questions in here. So one from Jeremy Herb. Is there going to be a physical late reg line like in past years, or will the line all be in the app, i.e. with alternate numbers?
Good question.
Okay. Yes, that is definitely going to be one of the benefits of the WSOP Plus app, is that in past years, people are very familiar with late registration lines. And it was basically, if you register after the tournament starts, and let's say Mystery Millions, we'll just use that as an example. You show up an hour later after tournament starts. You're basically treated as late reg, and then you're in a very long line to get your seat. This year, again, this is going to be, you would be assigned a late registration number. So it'll be basically like you mentioned, Jim, alternate. So like you could be number 125, and there'll be some sort of notification. Again, this is the assumption part here, but there should be a way to find out how I'm sure you heard at the Irish Open, now accepting alternates late registration 50 and under. And then 50 and under, they head to the late registration desk. They show their app, and they get their chips and their C assignment, and go from there. This is sort of what I'm expecting is going to happen this year. But again, it's one of those things where it's sort of like, we'll know. I'll definitely know more before everything starts, because it's definitely something where people are not familiar with the app. There's definitely going to be a share of confusion.
And I'm just going to get ahead of some of these questions I'm seeing coming through there. For most of these situations, the app itself is going to generate a QR code that you get scanned. It'll show basically a seat number, a ticket number that you show the dealer. Basically anything that would be on that physical printout. That same information is going to be on a screen on your app that you can show the dealer, so that they can compare the information to what they have in their own, tablet app that they're running the table with. Benny the Jet had that question. Midwest 1811 says, and what happens if someone's phone dies? Like, is there a backup method? Is there a way to what do we do in that kind of scenario?
That's a very good question. I assume there's going to be they're going to have something, because again, people are going to have phones die. That's one of the things I honestly don't know the answer to, but I assume there's going to be a way that they'll be able to look someone up. I assume if they provide an email address, and they have their ID with them, which again, they should have their ID at all points, because which just pretend it's 2024, you're going to need your ID when you show up when you register for an event. You need to have your ID and your player's card, and it's going to be important to have those pieces of information with you anyways. So it'll be good just that don't lose your ID or your player's card, because they'll have a way to determine, to make sure that it's actually you that's playing the event and you're not taking over for someone else.
And that is something that we stress in every episode where we talk about this, that you really have to get yourself validated at the very beginning of the trip. Always have your player's card, always have your ID, and always have your registration slip, the dealer copy in particular. Now, in this world, that registration slip is going to be on the app. So that's kind of your holy trinity. And if you have your ID and your player's card, anyone will be able to look you up in the system and tell you what table you're supposed to be at. If you go to that table, the dealer is going to have your name and photo on their tablet that you're going to be able to show your ID and make sure that you're sitting at the right spot. So it's not the end of the world, but it's just like a lot smoother if you have a working smartphone.
Yes. Yeah. It's a good thing to bring a power bank with you. Obviously, I'm sure people remember the phone charger, the phone charger guys. Mm-hmm. But you can go to you can go to any store pretty much any store in Vegas, and they have power banks for sale. So bring one or two. Right. They're not that expensive. I picked up one from Walmart the other day for $10, and it says you have up to 2 charges on it. So
there you go.
But,
yeah, always be prepared. You heard, if you were listening last week, you had our little checklist, and a couple chargers and a couple battery packs are going to be money well spent when it comes to.
And I will assume again, this is the assumption hat being firmly placed upon my head. I'm assuming there's going to be ways. I don't know anything about the tables themselves. If they're going to have charging ports or anything like that. It's
not typically, yeah,
right. Not typically. But it's definitely, I mean, it would be great but there is a cost involved. Sort of like, yes. It would be nice if they had a lot of things, but, I mean, we see slot machines in a casino that you basically have a place where you can, put your phone down, or you can hook up your charging cable and you'll get a charge that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. Okay, and then I think you may have touched on this earlier with Lorianne, but does this also apply, the needing to have this account, does that also apply to the deep stacks and the satellite tournaments? Yes. Okay,
every event at the WSOP, you're going to have, no matter what you're playing at the WSOP this year, you're going to need the WSOP Plus account at the very minimum. Doesn't matter if you're not playing any bracelet events, you're buying them with cash, you're still going to need, at the very, very minimum, a WSOP Plus account, which is basically providing your email and your identification, ID details.
All right.
It's helpful to have the app on your phone. Yes.
And let me see. That's most of our YouTube questions. I'll just remind our audience to get them in there. And also, we do share a portion of any donations that people make through the YouTube chat with a local food bank. And so if you want to make a super chat or a super sticky comment or a super, I don't know, what are they called? I don't know. There's a couple of ways that YouTube members can donate to help support what we're doing here at RecPoker. And if you do, we'd love that. And we share a portion of those donations with a local food bank. And if folks want to find other ways to help us out, you can go to rec.poker/support and find a bunch of different ways without spending $1 of helping our mission to make the recreational poker world a better place. Also some ways where you can help us out with $1 or $2. So do check that out. And we do have some cool stuff on our Patreon channel as well. There's some ways to support us there, and also some ways to get some audio versions of all of our premium training videos for only $10 a month. So do get involved and help us out. And if you do it through the YouTube, we'll make sure to help out a local food bank as well. So let me see. Let's talk a little. So we talked sort of about satellites and deep stacks. Do you have a sense of what the layout is going to be for generally? Like, I know the admin cage is usually over at Paris, but there's also sort of like a secondary registration cage at the Horseshoe. I know there'll be upstairs over in, the Promenade Room or something like that. The escalators over by the cash room.
Yes, Normandy and Province. Those are the 2 rooms. So the setup's going to be the same as last year. Basically Paris and Horseshoe are going to be holding the bracelet events, and you'll see some cash games in Paris. One notable change is the King's Room, which is the high stakes cash area, is not going to be there this year. They may add. I think they're just going to add more cash game tables in that section.
Great.
But basically, the setup's going to be the same. The far back corner in Paris, where the higher buy-in, the 10Ks and up, those terms are going to be there. Those are the ones you're going to see the shuffle, the unmatched shufflers. You're going to see more people standing around the rail watching all the big names. And Province and Normandy, those are the 2 rooms that are going to hold the daily deep stacks. You also see your satellites being held there. So those are the same as last year, and there'll be a cage, the cage for those rooms as well for entering daily deep stacks and satellites.
Fantastic. And for satellites in particular, what happens when it comes to hitting like a taxation event? Like, let's say you're in a satellite for the main event, you're in for 1,000, you win 10,000. Do you have to pay taxes on it because it's more than $5,000?
Okay, so these details are the same as last year. So if, again, with the slight change that you're going to be getting a ticket if you win one of the main event satellites. So they'll basically give you a direct entry So let's say you play a $1,000 satellite and you're lucky, you're fortunate enough to win a main event seat. You'll get a ticket in the app, and you'll use that ticket to enter into the main event. Now, there are some ways that you can get chips, but if you basically try to cash out to get chips, that's a taxable event because you're getting more than $5,000 net.
Okay.
So if you win a satellite seat, then you would use that satellite seat to enter the main event or another $10,000 tournament. You would not be taxed on that.
Okay, great. And I think that's also how some promotional tickets will be received, or satellite winners online and that kind of stuff. They might find that they have a ticket waiting for them in the app that they can then redeem.
Yes, that's correct. Entry. If those who have the app on their phone, they'll see the you'll see options. Let's do this here. You'll see. Well, if you go to the payment method, it'll have Paris tournament account, it'll have WSOP.com, it'll have credit card, Luxon Pay, PayPal, and ACH. Now, of course, there haven't been any satellites on WSOP.com yet, so that's grayed out as well until we get closer to the actual start of the series, when I'm sure they'll start running satellites into events like Mystery Millions and all those events.
Okay,
and there's some events where you'll win a direct entry into the event in question, because I know there's some $50 satellites in the Mystery Millions, also the Colossus and the Gladiators. They usually do some live satellites as well as online satellites that will award direct entry into those events.
Okay, fantastic. And you've got some real fans in the YouTube audience here, Kevin. A lot of people that really appreciate the work you're doing for the poker world. So people are noticing. Just in case you ever wonder, you're touching lives. There's no doubt.
No. I'm trying my best, Jim. That's all I can do.
That's all we can do, brother.
All you can do.
That's all I can do.
So just a clarification here from Midwest 1811. Can we fund our Paris tournament account with 2,500 cash? Just down there. It's grayed out at the moment, but
yes.
Like some of the other stuff that's grayed out, once it's available, it'll be accessible in the app. Okay.
Yes, and that should be available starting the 15th at the Paris main cage. If you just want to put cash, if you have cash or chips, that option you should be able to do that at the cage, and then you can use whatever. There's at least $2,500, and now people may remember in the past when they were using Bravo Poker Live, there was a $3 fee. So you would have if you wanted to deposit $2,500, you would probably deposit $2,520 because they'd take a $3 fee every time. And this year there's no fees for that.
Okay.
So you don't have to throw it. You don't have to throw in like an extra $20 or whatever, just to make sure you're getting a seat.
Great point. Question from Jeremy again. Are we going to see structure sheets for dailies and satellites soon? Or I guess when are those planning to be released?
They should be. I would expect again. I've looked at the structure sheets. They asked me to proofread them. The structure sheets are the same as last year for all the satellites and daily deep stacks. If you go to WSOP.com/2024, you can see what the structure sheets are, and they are the exact same.
Okay, fantastic.
But if you go, when WSOP.com/2025 goes live, you will see those structure sheets.
All right, nice.
And they'll also the structures themselves will also appear in the app. Like on the day. Usually, you may see some overnight for satellites and daily deep stacks, but on the day of the tournaments, you will see the structures as well in the app.
Fantastic. So folks, do continue to get your questions in there. We're going to move into some questions about some new rules that have been adopted this year. As you feel like you're able to answer them, Kevin. So there's been some, and I guess I will say, folks, if you're listening along and you want to be entered into our raffle, just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat and get yourself in the running to win a fantastic prize. So Kevin, one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking, when can we use our phones, and when we're not using our phones, where do they have to be so that we don't get in trouble in the tournament area? And also, where is the tournament area? But one at a time. Let's start with the phones.
Okay, so basically, you're allowed to have your phones on your person for all tournaments. until you get down to the final 3 tables, which in most cases is going to be 27 players. I mean, obviously, stud events, horse events are going to be 24. Low ball is going to be 21. 6 max is 18, etc. So it's basically the final 3 tables of tournaments. You'll be able to have access. You would be able to use your phone as you need to. Now, a question that came up is, what if you're playing on WSOP.com? The online. If you're playing online poker, because they want you to be playing on the online poker site, and you are allowed to use. Sorry for the interruption. You are allowed to use WSOP.com to play online poker within the final 3 tables. Obviously, some floor person's going to have to see that you're actually playing online poker and not doing something else. If you're just fooling around, then they're going to not allow you. I assume there do some sort of measure on that. And you're also allowed to look at WSOP Plus as well within those final 3 tables. But I'm going to assume that they're going to have some sort of lockbox. There's going to be some way that they're going to have the phone stored and secured, because losing your phone is going to be a real pain. Is going to be a real problem if the phones just get stolen or disappear. That's going to create a whole other situation. That's not going to not going to put the WSP in a good light.
So I can't just put it in my knapsack that I've got next to me. Not. I
don't know.
I guess we'll see.
First year. It is the first year. I mean, it's sort of like, it hasn't really been expressed. I mean, it would be sort of nice if you could just put, I think people are just concerned that you have your phone in your pocket and your friend decides to, you have signals or whatever. So it's
yeah, totally. Like those. It could just be someone like, when you hear the chime, that means you're ahead. Or if you don't hear the chime, then you're behind. Right? So you've got some very helpful friends.
Kev Matt's always ahead. Love that. He's always ahead.
Okay, so and you'll know after the first tournament what the rule is, because they'll apply it. So then we'll know. That's fine. Now, and
another important thing to note that's a new rule this year is that spectators are not supposed to be watching if the tournament's being streamed, final table, feature table. They are not supposed to be watching the streams on their phone as well. So that's spectators and players.
Okay.
So, and that's going to be especially key when we see final tables in the Thunderdome. We're not going to have a situation that's similar to the main event last year, where there was, people run over to the rail and sort of get look at solvers and stuff like that. That's going to be expressly banned.
Chris, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, can I follow up on that? I'm really curious about, so Rule 64D prohibits spectators from, quote, providing live real-time assistance or coaching through direct speaking or indirect text, email, blah, 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 communication to an active participant in any WSOP event. And I guess I'm curious about what they mean by active. Does that mean in a hand, or does that mean in a tournament? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Finish your question now.
And then the second thing I just want to know is, what do they mean by coaching?
It basically is in playing in a tournament would be an active player. So if you're watching Lori, and she's deep in the tournament, and you're like watching. Basically, how the rule is that you're not supposed to be able to coach her. Now, Lori may not want your coaching, or it's sort of like it's like what.
Burn.
Nobody wants my coaching, but I give it to everyone.
It's just a hypothetical, Kevin. Jesus, you didn't have to fucking body the guy right on the show like that. That's good, Lord.
I mean, if I get 5s, just go all in. Doesn't matter how many.
I give that information for free.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. I'm going to say this as I'm not saying this not representing the World Series of Poker, Caesars Entertainment, GG Poker, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is one of those rules where they're sort of they want to basically cover all circumstances. So it's sort of like, if like Lori came over to you and you just decided to talk about something.
Yeah.
That's like cool, but it's like, hey, this, I've been following, I've been paying attention to this, this other player, he does this when he has this, or, some sort of tendency, or I think that's what they're considering coaching. But again, it's one of those situations where it's going to be like, it's kind of really going to depend.
Yeah. One of the things that I see
go ahead.
being really common in the poker space, right, is like, your friend walks by, right, and suddenly they see like, oh, your stack got really big or really short or something changed, right? And they're like, what happened? And you're like, oh, well, blah de blah, triple barreled, and I called off with second pair, and and I was right, and they were bluffing, and now I have a giant stack. What do you think? And then they say, well, I wouldn't have called there, but and does that count as coaching?
That's one of those things. Again, taking out the WSOP cap for the moment, it seems like one of those things. It's going to be very situational. I mean, to me, that doesn't sound like coaching, but again, I think they put it in there to cover, just basically cover all situations. I mean, it's going to be it's like a rule that seems like at certain spots it's going to be kind of tough to enforce.
I think they just want to be able to enforce it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lorianne. Yeah.
I was saying, how are they going to enforce that during, like, for example, the tag team?
That's a very good question. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Now, in that case, they're neither one is a spectator in the same way necessarily. Like, I guess they're both active players, so maybe that's a different thing. But that's a great example. And I think it's the Al Capone thing, right? Like they want to have a broad power to enforce it. And I think they're probably just going to make a series of very unpopular case-by-case decisions about what constitutes soon.
I can see controversies coming up with this particular about the coaching thing, because some people are going to say, "Oh, this person's getting coached, and it's going to be kind of a tough, it's sort of like, was this coaching? How is this coaching when this wasn't coaching?"
Yeah,
etc.
It's going to be, they're going to have to find their way. To find their way to it. And I think, like, someone texting you or someone, saying, oh, there's only 21 left. Well, no, 21's a bad example because you'd be in the no phone zone, but like, pay jumps in 2 busts or something like that. That's another thing that, like, is it assistance? Hard to say. We've got a comment from H Poker here. Would that apply on break as well? So like if both players are off in line at the washroom, are they not supposed to?
Well, that's not the tournament. I don't think they've given a specific definition, but I would assume tournament room is basically inside where there's tables at.
Yeah.
A room of poker tables where poker's being played. That's the tournament room. If you're going to the bathroom to this, walking, on breaks or whatever, if you do it outside the tournament area, that sounds like it's fine to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I think, and this is, again, we're gonna find out how it gets applied.
It will kind of get solidified, within, because I'm sure there's gonna be all sorts. There's gonna be situations that come up and wondering, what is this? Someone's gonna be taking video or pictures and wondering, why is this person, why is this happening?
Yeah,
they'll wonder because it's kind of vague in a way.
Yeah, I think it's intentionally vague so that they can choose when to enforce it against people that are actually bad actors and not people that are just chatting with their friends about poker.
Right. So I think if you were chatting with your friend, that seems like that'd be fine. But again.
Yeah, I think the YouTube chat is loving this conversation. By the way, my trophy for best comment goes to Brian Raven. Meet me in the restroom. Bring your laptop. Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Okay, so we'll take a few more questions, then we'll start wrapping this up. I do think, as Kim points out, like it's gonna be a pain to enforce it consistently, but that's not a reason not to do it. I think if they can find where to draw the line, maybe this is the right way to approach this sort of technological invasion of the live poker space. Kevin, what other crucial information does our audience need to know about this year's WSOP, especially if they're going down for the first time?
Well, as always, you have to make sure you have your Caesar Rewards card and expired, ID that has not expired. That's kind of those are kind of like the two really. That's what everyone's going to have anyway, because that doesn't matter like I said, we've discussed, some people are just not going to use the app. They're not going to, they don't want the app on their phone. They don't want to deal with a phone, and they're also going to have the WSOP Plus account. They're going to have to provide an email address at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure
there's going to be a photo, I think.
Yeah. That's kind of those are like the important things. Of course, registration is open pretty much almost 24/7. If you're going to play certain events and you're going to have the money with you, make sure you have that taken care of, and then you can register whenever you want. Overnight's always a good time to register for events at all times. And it's sort of like you're going to have make sure you're in the right mindset. Make sure make sure you got your chargers. Make sure you got the food that you want. Make sure you have your hoodie if you want. Because you never know what the temperature of the rooms are going to be, because it's sort of it can definitely vary from time to from mid afternoon to late evening. You're never really 100% certain what the temperature is going to be. It's things like those sort of things are sort of like the case with whenever you're playing poker, wherever that is.
Mm-hmm. Question from Benny the Jet: do Canadian driver's licenses count as an acceptable form of ID, or does it have to be a passport? Do you know?
That's a good question. And let me just double check, because I'm pretty sure that is an acceptable form of ID. But let me make sure. Let me look at the registration page.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's in here.
While you're looking that up, I'll just remind our audience to type the words "food bank" into the YouTube chat. We're going to do our raffle shortly. And the reason that we ask you to type the words "food bank" into the YouTube chat is just because we're kind of one of the causes that we support here at RecPoker is the fight against food insecurity. And it's just a real difficult time in the world right now for people to put food on the table. For a lot of people, that might surprise you. It might be some of your neighbors, people living in your own community that are struggling to feed a child or a loved one or even themselves. And a great way for you to make the world a better place is just to support a local food bank. It's a great ROI. They don't have a lot of overhead. You're helping people in your own backyard. So I'd encourage everyone, if you're enjoying the show, just pull out your phone, pull out your smartphone and Google food banks near me. You'll find a fantastic organization that can support, that can benefit from your support, either from a few dollars out of your pocket, some volunteer hours out of the week, or some non-perishable food items from your own pantry. And in the meantime, just type the words "food bank" in to the show here, and we'll share a portion of any donations that we make from the show with a local food bank. And we're also going to spin our prize wheel at the end, and there'll be some opportunities for folks to win some prizes there, and also to raise some money for a local food bank. Kevin, did you find that information about the Canadian driver's license?
Yes, I did. And so if you go to you can read along with me at WSOP.com/registration, and it's under identifications, the very last section. So I'll just read and to answer the question. If a participant is not a U.S. citizen, participant must have one of the following that is current, valid, and unexpired: passport, foreign government issued driver's license, which must have a photograph, date of birth, and a valid expiration date. And then if you're a citizen of Mexico, it's a consular ID or a matricula consular card, or an alien registration card. If now, which is most people will probably show their passport. If the current, valid, and unexpired photo identification does not include a physical address, a second form of ID that indicates a physical address will be required. And that second form of ID can be a driver's license, utility bill, credit card statement, etc.
Okay.
So
and
hopefully,
quick follow up from Carl Derry. What if you recently renewed your license and you have a valid paper ID, but you're waiting on the new physical card with the photo of you?
That's a very good question. Now, I don't know what to say, but so it does. It's just a photo. I would bring some. So they don't have a passport. I assume this is a U.S. citizen.
I'm not sure, but that would make sense.
I'm going to assume, because here in the U.S. we have the Rio ID thing. Because if you're flying to Vegas, you have to have a Rio ID or a passport. But most people don't have a passport. They're going to have to show some sort of Rio ID, which will have a photo, et cetera, et cetera. Don't really need to go over that at this moment. But It would probably be helpful to have the player's card. Again, this is one of those things where I'm not really certain of. What I would suggest that they do to try to get a better answer is to email WSOP FAQ at Caesars.com and ask that question, because if you have your Caesars card, because you had to show your ID when you received the Caesars rewards card, so that would have your ID, at least have a picture of you, assuming you're at the same address.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not 100%. I don't want to say with 100% certainty because I'm not really sure. But what I would do is I would do that tonight and get an answer, and then you have a better peace of mind. Because we do have, fortunately the WSOP is 15 days away. If you're playing that first event, maybe if you're waiting till the main event, hopefully you'll get your physical ID with your picture and your address, and not have to worry about this.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, and I think Carl, at the very least, bring the old hard copy, bring the new paper version, bring some other ID that has your address, bring some other ID that has a photo. Just cover your bases and do the best. But yeah, and I noticed Kevin has shouted out the URL at WSOP.com/register several times. So I'm sure a lot of information. Registration. Oh, thanks, Kevin. That's all we need, right? But if you're back this up a little and catch that email address that he shared as well, because that seems like a great place to, if the information isn't available on that resource page, then reach out in person and get an answer. Yeah,
and again, it's WSOP FAQ, and we all know what an FAQ is. So at Caesars, CAESARS.com. All
right, fantastic. Well, I'm going to give folks a couple more minutes to get any more questions in for you, Kevin. But in the meantime, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this game we like to play called Stake, Study, Stack. Does that ring a bell? You've been on the show a few times, but I don't know if we've played before.
Yeah, I think we've played. I think I've played Stake. I played that game a couple of times.
All right. Well, we're going to play it again, and I've got 3 completely new names. I hope for you. I guess we're going to find out. The rules are: I'm going to give you 3 names. It's much like that game we used to play when we were kids, called Kiss, Marry, or Kill, or maybe you called it something slightly different. You're going to get 3 names. You have to choose one to stake in a poker tournament or cash game, one to study with to help you improve as a player, and one that you'd like nothing more than to just stack them and steal all their chips while they're at the table. So your 3 names are Jesse Fullen, Chad Holloway, and Jeff Platt. Stake, study, and stack.
Okay. Well, at least we have one bracelet winner amongst those 3. That's a good thing. Okay. I'll do Jeff Platt, noted sideline announcer. I'm going to choose him as the stake person because he's definitely the one most qualified. Jeff's the one most qualified to have a deep run in a tournament more often than the other 2, I would think. Study is going to be Chad Holloway, a former bracelet winner, and one of the big wigs over at Poker News, and try to pick his brain. He would between he and Jesse, I would definitely take Chad to try to pick his brain. Try to figure out some good strategies when I'm at the poker table. And of course that leaves my good friend Jesse Fullen as the stack. I don't know if people are aware that are watching now. Jesse's sort of going to be taking my role in a sense. He's the social media manager this year at the WSOP. So a lot more of the tweets are going to be coming from him and his team. I'll have my share of tweets, but I think most of the stuff I'm going to do this year is going to be on the WSOP Plus app. You can find me answering a bunch of questions and providing information already on the WSOP Plus app. If you search for KevMath, I'm already in there trying to straighten people out. So I'll say stack Jesse because he's definitely the worst player of the 3.
All right.
Ouch.
And we've got our clip. For the show. Fantastic.
Ouch.
That's wonderful. So a whole new platform for KevMath on the WSOP Plus app. Okay, and so people can message you directly there to get detailed information, and they can always tag the WSOP account on Twitter as well. And you've pointed out the / registration page and the email address. Are there any other sort of like go-to resources or platforms or people or addresses that people should have in mind if they need more information?
Well, I'll add, a little self-promotion. I also provide information each morning. Actually, I started yesterday, this year's edition. If you're on Twitter, or as the cool kids call it, X, if you go to @KevMathVegas, I will provide daily information for all the other poker tournaments that are going on in Vegas this summer. So I provide, which is basically I provide links to structure sheets. I provide, basic information, like, hey, here's what's happening at the Venetian today. You got this monster stack or whatever events that they have, basically covering all the other poker tournaments going around in Vegas. Because, there are people that sort of stay away from the WSP because it's just too crowded. So they'll go elsewhere to play their poker. So I'm providing that information as well. It's definitely it's just, I'm not answering questions at KevMath Vegas. I'm just providing information. And usually it's around 6 or 7 a.m. At least I'm trying. That's what I'll be trying to do this year. Around 6 or 7 a.m. Vegas time. You'll cover all the tournaments going on. And then I'll be busy on my KevMath account and WSP account as needed.
Of course. You're a man of many talents. I want to just get one more comment here from from MSPT trophy winner Philip Razor. He says, Kevin, you need a Blue Sky account. Any plans to come join the place where the sky is blue?
I do have a Blue Sky account at KevMath. KevMath and all the other stuff that goes with it.
Yeah. KevMath Doth, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, I created, when sort of all the stuff went down, I created an account and then I haven't really posted there. So that sort of tells you what I think of Blue Sky at the moment. I'll try. I'll try, but I'm gonna be super busy with all the others. And I try to stay out of politics for a variety of reasons because I get dunked on enough about stuff poker related. I don't need to give hot takes about other stuff going on outside of poker. I try to be I try to stay neutral on that sort of thing.
Well, whatever you're doing, I was going to say whatever you're doing is working.
Yeah, so far so good.
Well, you know how to bring some fire too. You've got the subtweet down. Kevin. I can read between the lines on some of the tweets when it comes to dropping bodies over there in the Twitter sphere. So keep it up. I think you're doing a great job.
Yeah, the snark can be a little too. I can get a little too intense snark, but I do. There's stuff in the drafts that just doesn't get released because it's way more trouble than hitting the send button is usually not the best thing to do. So I try to show some restraint at times.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. This has been a real pleasure. We're actually going to talk about some of the other tournaments and venues that are not WSOP related here, but I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot on your plate. Thanks again. If folks want to find out more about Kevin, go to rec.poker/KevMath. Did I mention he's a Wrecking Crew member? We got him, gang. All right, Kevin, you're the man. I can't wait to put a cold beer in your hand when I see you sometime real soon. Rooting for you.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you, Lorianne, and everyone else, the Wrecking Crew, and all the people listening and watching. I will be in Vegas starting the 23rd of May, so this is definitely going to be a very interesting summer all around.
You said it, man. All right, well, folks, stick around. We're going to give away a fantastic prize in just a minute. Kevin, thanks again, and Lorianne, you were telling us earlier about doing a little research, a little recon.
I was going to say a little reconnaissance. Yeah.
Yeah. Break it in. Go and share some details with us.
Well, for those that don't know, the Planet Hollywood just reopened their poker room. And for those of us that have ever played, they remember the old poker room was downstairs near the party pit, and upstairs up the escalators where they would hold their famous series and also their circuit events. Well, that is where the new poker room is now located. And I will say it is a very nice poker room. They did a really nice job with it as far as the decor and everything. And just really quickly, the main room has 12 8-handed cash tables. They also have 2 tournament tables off to the 2 tournament rooms, I should say, off to the side with 6 and 5 tables respectively. So right now they have 11 tournament tables. And as of right now, they are currently holding 4 daily tournaments, 10 a.m., 2, 6, and 10 p.m. $100 tournaments. And from what I was told, they do plan to continue that throughout the series, and I did play the very first one. And I should say Rick and I played the very first one, and it is set up. It's $100 buy-in, set up to be a turbo structure with 15-minute levels. But I will say it has a very respectable structure for $100 buy-in. So I personally recommend, if you want to, take a little time to get away from all the hustle and bustle happening over at Horseshoe in Paris, and you just want like a quick tournament where you're not there all day and just to have some fun, I highly recommend heading over, the next casino over, going over to Planet Hollywood. And no, I was not paid to say this. So.
That's right.
It's an honest opinion. So yes. So that's
well. We're gonna draw our winner in just a second here. Any other thoughts from the panel about Kevin's news or ways that we can kind of guide ourselves down, or our audience can learn from?
I want to say, Jim, that I'm going to be passionately and wholeheartedly and genuinely cheering for you to win the seniors event this year.
I need a little more salt in the beard before they'll let me play that one. A little more salt and the pepper, unfortunately. But soon they'll even let a kid like me in. Lenny from the block, just type in the words food bank, then you'll be entered into the draw there. And welcome to the show. Rob Washam, you are popularly referred to as RecPoker's Santa Claus. What have you got in your big bag of gifts for our members this week?
You're the only one that calls me that, so I don't know. Anyway.
But I do it fondly.
Yes, you do. This week, we are giving away a free month to the Poker Forge. The Poker Forge is all about active learning and will give you the knowledge, tools, and actionable guidance you need to forge yourself into the winning poker player you want to be. Sky uses a very straightforward training method without getting bogged down in charts and GTO solvers. So you can go to rec.poker/partners for links to all of our learning partners.
There you go. And we love working with these fantastic learning partners, these great other training sites all around the world, the best ones in the world, sharing their material with our members because they know that the recreational poker world is where the future of the game is. So it's great to be a part of this fantastic group and to be able to give away such fantastic prizes. So I think that should do it. John Somsky, why don't you share some recent home game winners, and then we're going to give away a fantastic prize and roll on out of here.
Well, on May 7th, we had our No Limit Hold'em Championship Series. That's where we keep track of points for the entire year, and the player of the year gets the most points. Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld got his first No Limit Hold'em Series win this year.
Whoa.
And 7 High 11, John Crowell still maintains the player of the year points race lead.
What a boss.
Dan D. Resg, Daniel A. got his second nightly victory for the year. 6 Double Rod 6, Omar Rodriguez got his second nightly victory for the year. Roadstar 33 got his fifth nightly victory for the year. Now then KB got his second nightly victory for the year. K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton got his sixth nightly victory for the year. Rick the Good Dog got his fourth international victory for the year.
Way to go, Rick.
Mike B172, Mike Bear, got his first international victory for the year. And Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld, won the LPP event for the second time this year. And he can contact info at rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Oh, Dave, what a killer. I like that Dave Westerveld, goes by Evil Roy, has won so many home games that when we announce his victories in the Discord, he posts an article about a professional sports player who had that number as his number. So he's in like the 80s now. I saw a post about some hockey player with number 87 or something, I think. It's just so cool, man. That guy just bosses.
Wasn't it Eric Lindros?
Oh, but maybe it was. That makes sense. Of course. Yeah.
And 88.
So 88. Wow. Phenomenal. And I didn't know this until I caught up on the 2 episodes that I missed while I was in Ireland, but we added a new gold pin member in each of those episodes. There was a new Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Yep. So congratulations. I mean, it's amazing. When we first put up the idea of the silver Lifetime Achievement Award pin for 50 RecPoker home games, I can't believe we've had several people reach that threshold now. It's so impressive. I mean, I'm nowhere near it, to put it in perspective. But like, it's so cool to see our home game club be such a big part of so many people's lives, and like, this is such a friendly place to go and play. It's free. It's play money chips. We do 10 or 11 home games throughout the week at various times of day on different days, and there are fantastic real prizes you can win. And it's just a great way to practice this game that we love so much, while the stakes are low. You know, the stakes are low, but the ceiling is high. Yeah, he's in the YouTube chat. 87 was Sidney Crosby. He's up to 88 now. That's amazing. Fantastic. And thanks for all the love from all these fantastic folks in the YouTube chat, like some new names here, Justin, Lenny, and I know I'm missing a few because it's been very active today, but I love getting this information, getting these new faces in here and being able to engage with these fantastic folks. If folks want to go to rec.poker/home game, you can find all the information you need about joining our home game club. They're hosted on PokerStars, but you can play for free from anywhere in the world. And if you're having trouble connecting to the home game club, you can always check the rec.poker/home game page for details, or you can email john@rec.poker to talk to the boss himself and find your way in. And do join. It is a lot of fun, and like I say, it's a great place to practice this game that we all love so much. All right, well done, everybody. I just want to point out that if we're brought to you by Running Aces. They've got a holiday double stack tournament coming up on Memorial Day, Monday, May 26th. So you can get in there and play a 10 a.m. tournament for $200 with a 24,000 starting chip stack. And then you do it again on the 4th of July. That Friday, it's another holiday double stack tournament coming up. And then the month after that, on the first weekend in August, on August 1st and 2nd, it's RecPoker weekend at Running Aces. So we're going to have a really fun time, play several tournaments, give away a bunch of fantastic prizes, and just generally have the time of our lives, as we tend to do at RecPoker weekend at Running Aces. So let's do it, gang. That was a great episode. Invisible producer Rob Gardner, why don't you throw up the wheel of fame and fortune? So if we roll a food bank, I'm going to donate $20 to a local food bank. If we roll ramp poker, then we're going to give away some free access to the fantastic training materials at Ramp Poker. And otherwise, we're just going to find a winner of our fantastic prize tonight. Let's spin that wheel and see who the winner is going to be. Got a lot of great YouTube participants in there. You'll love to see it.
Not Phil.
Food
bank.
All right, it's a food bank, so I'm going to make a note. Fantastic. So I'm going to donate.
Chris is doing a little sour rooting there, I think is what it's referred to as.
The anti-sweat. Chris knows the anti-sweat. You got bamboozled, Chris. I love that. All right, let's spin it again. Let's find another winner, and I hope
another Phil. We got to sweat another Phil.
That's right. Let's see. No.
Not Phil.
Feel it.
Yeah, Kim.
There you go. One of the good ones. Okay. One of the good ones. Kim Kilroy. All right. Well, Kim, congratulations. So you are, as a member of the Wrecking Crew, that unlocks this whole new tier of prizes for you. So you're going to enjoy there. Yeah, of course, Phil.
He's always getting bamboozled.
That's MSPT trophy winner Philip Razor. He's just constantly getting bamboozled, left, right, and center. So yeah, Kim, send that email to info@rec.poker, and RecPoker Santa will get you all set up with your fantastic prize. All right. Well, everyone, I had a fantastic time. Kevin's such a sweetheart. I'm so glad to have him on here. What a great resource to the recreational poker world. Thanks to Kevin Mathers. Thanks to Chris Jones, Lorianne Persinger, Rob Washington, John Somsky, invisible producer Rob Gardner. Thanks to all our YouTube chatters, all our premium members, our Wrecking Crew members, and you, the listeners at home. We couldn't do it without you. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the RecPoker Podcast. Have a good night.
Say peace.
Yeah.